fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters and today we're in Stockholm, Sweden. Today we're going to talk about are some things you should look for when you're looking to rent an apartment rental when you travel. Basically your Airbnbs, your VRBOs, these kind of things. Because what you'll notice is when you read reviews, you might see glowing reviews and then have a very different experience when you're there. Like, for example, I always like to talk about this one. We read this reviews that looked fantastic, saying how attentive the owners were at this place we stayed at in Connecticut. And we were there, they were literally spying on us. Yes, I should have realized when they're like very attentive, always there for you. I should have looked into it, okay? So I want to kind of give you some things to kind of think about before you click book for your accommodation. And the first thing I want you to realize is when you do an Airbnb or these kind of things, when you write reviews of these places, those places also write reviews of you. And so people want to make sure they keep their high 5-star rating so people will rent to them. So they tend to be a little over glowing in their recommendations so they don't have any issues. And I know you'll say, well, they don't get to see your review until after the review. Well, people can change things can change, but it's really important to realize since I might be reviewed, I might want to do a little bit nicer because they're going to review me. So have that in your mentality when you're reading the reviews, because that's one of the big things. You actually want to read the reviews, not just the 5 stars and not just the 1 stars, but read some 4 stars and 3 stars to see what people were talking about, like what was bothering them. Because sometimes, you know, you get a 1-star review because, well, they didn't like the restaurant nearby, or oh, they didn't like the city in general and they take it out on the Airbnb, and vice versa. It was so wonderful here in Stockholm. I love Stockholm, but it didn't change the fact that the bed sucked and there was no toilet paper, right? So read through these things, and some things I really want you to like look for when you read those reviews. One word is clean. If people will let you know if it's a clean apartment, if it's a clean house, if it's a clean anything. That's a key thing, because especially if you have to do the cleaning later, like if it's not that clean when you come in, that's one thing you want to watch out for. Another thing is location. Are people talking about its location? Oh, is it perfectly located to see the city? Like where I'm staying here in Stockholm, it's perfectly located in the downtown. It's like a 15-minute walk to the old town. I mean, it's perfect for what I want to have. Location is fantastic, so that's another thing you want to look at. Another thing you want to look at is, I would say, either accuracy or as described, okay? Because then we know the reviewer is talking about, hey, the place I booked is what you're seeing on this, you know, on this listing, because sometimes what you see in the listing is not what you get. And then some other words to look for, obviously just bad, just search bad. They'll say what do you think was bad, or smell. Yeah, smell's another one that people don't think about, but once you know there's a bad smell or something, you're like, oh, maybe that's not for me. I mean, great location, but it smells like garbage? Maybe not. And then communication. It's important that you'll be able to communicate with the owner in case there's any issues. But like, these are things, these are like the keywords I look for when I read the reviews. But the thing is, reviews won't tell you everything. There's some things you can look for in the listing that might give you pause. One thing I would say is if they have too many stock photos, you know, the ones that like, it's here in Stockholm and they show the Royal Palace and they show all the fancy buildings and they show the boats. What does that have to do with where I'm staying? You want to see pictures of the bedrooms, you want to see pictures of the kitchen, the storage area, the building, where, you know, these kind of things. That's what you want to see, because that's what you're going to live. You can visit these things anywhere you stay in Stockholm. And when you have places that put in too many of those stock photos, too many like tourist shots, why aren't they showing the place? Or another thing they show is just the too close-up version. So instead of seeing like all of me to see how chubby I am, you get to see like, oh, hey, no, it's just my eyeball you're seeing. Now, oh no, everything's cool here. No, those close-up pictures, they don't tell you enough. So make sure you get to see actual photos. And they're always like 3 pictures. Beware, buyer beware. Now another thing is sometimes there's just no reviews, because it might be it's a new place, and if it's a new place, I mean, sometimes you can get lucky, sometimes you get not lucky. You want to go to places that have reviews, okay? So you can judge through, and not just like 1 or 2 reviews, you want more reviews so you can judge on something. So be wary of places that do not have any reviews. And kind of going along with that, like with the few reviews and things, I mean, I think another thing people need to realize is Superhost doesn't mean that they're a super host. It just means they have a lot of 5-star reviews. I mean, say you got enough reviews. Well, if I only have like 20 reviews and most of them are 5-star, great, I'm a super host, yay! But that doesn't mean they're like stocking the fridge and having extra toilet paper and doing all these things for you. It just means the reviews they have, they got 5 stars. So that is one of the biggest misnomers I hear with Superhost, is that you think it's gonna be something great and they're just a host that, yeah, everything was there. Is that really super, or is that their job? So be aware of that. Another thing I think is really important is the location. Now I know I said it says look for location, the keywords in the reviews, but I'm thinking more like the circle, because they don't give the exact address where you're gonna stay. They give you a roundabout location. And if that circle shows up and it's close to an area you don't want to be to, because you don't know where you're going to be in that circle, so you may be right on the edge of where you don't want to be, right? So maybe take a look at that and go, that's a little too close where I don't want to be. Or maybe it's like, oh yeah, that circle's exactly where I want to be, perfect, let's stay there. Just realize that circle where they give you a rough idea where it is not going to be exactly right, and it might not be exactly the perfect location, because think about it, if I want to make it like if it can be touching the city center, well, I make it look like it's touching the city center versus the outside of the suburbs kind of stuff. So be aware of that in terms of location stuff. Now, another thing I think is important, and this is one thing that Airbnb has done better and VRBO has done better, is like, look, you gotta list the duties that people have to do before they leave, before they book. And make sure you read those. Don't just sign, well, this is a great place, let's do it. You gotta say, it's like, what do I have to do beforehand? Because I've gone to a place, we were in San Antonio once, and literally, no joke, we had to strip the beds, launder the beds, like wash and dry them. All of the dishes had to be done. We had, we had to sweep the floor, vacuum the floor, which is weird, because I'm like, why do I have to sweep and vacuum? I don't know. And mop. I mean, I was like, are you kidding? I have to do all this? And then we had to pay like $200 for the cleaning fee. I'm like, what the heck? I mean, it blew my mind. I'm like, wait, why am I doing all this and paying for that? Like, that's one of those things. Like, and Airbnb has that, realistic or like not giving people too many cleaning things to do when they're paying for this cleaning fees. But you need to read that, because if all of a sudden you see, wait, I have to do the laundry and I have to have it all done before I go. Like, I have to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport. How do I have time to do the laundry stuff? That might influence your choices. Now, another thing I think is important when you're reading the reviews and they have their kind of list of amenities that go along with it, if you do not see it in the list of amenities, do not expect it to be there. I mean, honestly, if it's not there, it's not there. If it doesn't say, oh, towels are provided, don't expect towels to be there. They might have a roll of toilet paper, not multiple rolls of toilet paper. They might not have a hairdryer. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. Like, I've gone places that literally, they said, oh, we have a set of 4 for families to stay, and we went to a place and there was 4 plates, 4 forks, 4 knives, 4 spoons, and nothing else. I'm like, oh, okay. So make sure you really look for those amenities and what do you need, especially if you're looking at washer and dryer, if you're gonna be there for a while. It's gonna be something important to really think about it. And I think another thing that's important is you don't have to book right away. Don't be afraid to actually contact the host and be like, hey, do you have these things? Are these things that aren't there, to answer any of your questions? Because they want to rent the place out too. And if you're someone that's doing this kind of research, they're thinking, hey, that's going to be a good person to rent too. So don't be afraid to ask them, okay? So these are some things I want you to think about before you rent an apartment, whether it is an Airbnb, a VRBO, any of the other services. I mean, there's literally hundreds of services that offer vacation rentals. Just make sure you know everything beforehand before you click that buy or book button, because I don't want you to be disappointed in your vacation. I want you to love it, like I love coming here to Stockholm. Anyway, I wish you all the best. I'll say bye from here in Stockholm, Sweden.